Somerset youngsters Craig Macheda and Craig Overton had days to remember as an injury-ravaged Somerset had the better of a thrilling opening day of their LV County Championship match in Durham on a day in which 18 wickets fell and 345 runs were scored. Acting Somerset captain James Hildreth won the toss and decided to have a bowl first, and Michael Di Venuto looked in good enough touch early on to make that look as if it may not have been the best of decisions. Durham have really struggled for runs this season, with none of their top six coming into this match with a 50 to their names. They may have fancied their chances against the Somerset side, which can just about field 11 fit players. One of those, however, is the outstanding Vernon Philander, and he got the important first wicket at the start of his fourth over as he persuaded Di Venuto to edge him behind to go for 14. Although conditions were again hardly ideal for batting in, as has been the case for much of this summer to date, there were a few signs of what was to come later in the day as Will Smith and Mark Stoneman batted well enough to give themselves a reasonable start, and indeed one of the better ones Durham have managed thus far. The total had reached 53 when they lost their second wicket, Macheda striking for the first time to have Smith caught behind for 18. An excellent slip catch from Hildreth then removed Paul Collingwood in the next over, Peter Trigo with the wicket this time as the home side slipped to 62 for 3. Somerset were again missing a whole host of bowlers for one reason or another, and their young sire would have been thrilled with the event so far, but Stoneman and Gordon Mutchell, another to be representing his county for the first time in the championship this year after Dale Benkenstein dislocated a shoulder in the warm-up, began to rebuild slowly and surely. It was hard work for Shaw as they added 28 in the next 17 overs either side of lunch. At 90 for 3, Durham were going okay, but they then lost their last 7 wickets for just 35 runs in the space of 9.5 overs. Philander had Stoneman held by Overton on 33, and Overton then claimed just the second wicket of his first-class career in his second match by trapping Mutchell in front for 16. Away from the wickets, a number of the fours hit by the Durham batsmen were uppish and not a million miles away from a fielder, but at least Ian Blackwell and Phil Mustard were able to stop the immediate rot by taking the total to 117 for 5. But the innings was then over in a flash. Mustard, another to get into double figures and then get out, spooned a catch to Alex Barrow off Macheda, and Blackwell followed with the next over as he edged Overton behind to Craig Keyswetter. Macheda then reduced Durham to 125 for 8 as Callum Thorpe drove on the up and found the hands of Philander, before the impressive Overton had Mitch Claydon LBW for 2. Then 2 balls later he claimed his 4th wicket as Rule Brathwaite was held by Barrow in the slips. Overton finished with 4 for 38 and Macheda 3 for 26, both career bests, as Durham were all out for 125, their last 5 wickets tumbling for only 8 runs in 4 overs. Not that Somerset made a great start with the bat themselves. To the first ball of the reply, Errol Sapire was bang in front to Graham Onions. Onions made a tremendous start with the ball, and in his next over, he removed Barrow in an identical fashion. Durham were fighting back with their visitors now on 6 for 2. Not for the first time across the country this season, ball was very much dominating bat. How Somerset could have done with Nick Compton, who scored a double hundred at this ground last year, and is the in-form batsman of the championship this season. With him away on England Lions duty, it was left to Hildreth and Lewis Gregory to try to lead a recovery. But both fell in quick succession. Gregory gave Thorpe the first of his 4 wickets as he offered Blackwell a catch with a missed-time pull shot to go for 18. While Hildreth was cleaned up by Claydon for the same score. So many players had made a start but couldn't go on. Trigo then came to the crease with a total on 45 for 4, and his policy changed the state of the game as he went after the bowling with intent, especially Claydon, who was picked on as his 8 overs were smashed for 63 runs. It was smart thinking from Trigo, who probably thought, given the events of the day to date, that there would soon be a ball delivered with his name on it. Not that any of his shots were slogs by any means. Keyswetter, on the other hand, played within himself, but his innings was no less valuable. Best known for going on the attack, Keyswetter was more intent on playing himself in and guiding the ball into the gaps. Trigo had raced to 40 off only 35 balls, 7 of which had crashed to the boundary, and he dominated a stand of 50 when he was bowled by Brathwaite to leave his side on 95 for 5. Trigo wasn't the first batsman to look rather suspiciously at the pitch. But he had given his side the impetus, and that was continued by Macheda, who, having taken 3 cheap wickets, now played the innings of the day. Indeed, he was to go on and reach the best score of his short career. He struck the ball really well as finally bat dominated ball to put Somerset well on top in a match they really needed to do well in to put their early season troubles behind them. Troubles which had seen Marcus Trescothick go down badly injured, their bowlers following one another to the physio's table, and the decision by Chris Gale to renege on his deal to join the county for the 2020 competition. All of that was put to bed for now, as this pair batted with real confidence against a Durham side which has surprisingly made a poor start to this campaign. As always, they start off as one of the favourites for the title, but already they have a lot of work to do to catch up the high-flying Warwickshire. Macheda raced to what was only the second 50 of his career, and he'd needed only 45 balls to get there. It was an excellent knock from the 20-year-old, who was now ensuring that this extraordinary first day would belong to his team. He soon passed his previous best of 53, made against Hampshire in Taunton last season. And with Kieswetter quietly going about his business at the other end, the 200 was reached. There aren't many days in which you get this many runs and wickets. Kieswetter also reached his half-century before the day ended. Somerset were now cruising at nearly 5 runs per over. His 50 had used up 78 balls and had included 7 fours. The 16th wicket of the day fell next ball when Macheda on 62 nicked Thorpe low down to Collingwood. His 62 had occupied only 60 balls and 13 of those had gone to the fence. Philander then came in, hit 2 boundaries and departed again as he was held by Stoneman off Thorpe with a dolly to cover. Thorpe then rather ruined Overton's otherwise delightful day as a youngster edged to Divenuto to go for a golden. And at the end of that over, bad luck took the players off after Somerset had hit 155 runs in the last session. What a day it had been while the rest of the country watched the rain pour down. Somerset will hope that Kieswetter can marshal the tail to add to his 60 not out and take his side's lead into 3 figures. It currently stands at 95 as Somerset go into the second day on 220 for 8.